You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Hello, my name is Selena. This is Bible Tea Time for Children.
The Holy Scriptures. Let the word bring you joy and knowledge.
Hi, my name is Selena, and welcome to Bible Tea Time for Children. My special guests today is Carl and Keith.
Hi there. It's so nice of you to have us here today.
Which one's Carl, which one's Keith?
You're Carl and you're Keith.
Got it right the first time.
Very good, very good. Hi, Selena.
Hi.
Do you have some questions for us? Like
Yes.
where we come from, where we work?
Yes.
We'll get around to that.
Are you the same two?
Well, we look a little bit like the same two.
I like to say we've worked together so long we're starting to look alike.
Do you have anything else to say?
I have a lot to say. In fact, we're talking about working in the mill, right? And we come from Slater Mill, which is in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and that is the seat of what we call the American Industrial Revolution, and that just means the beginning of the factories in our country. Before Slater Mill was built, there were a lot of farmers and farmland, and Slater Mill pretty much started the factories where they have machines making products, making things.
And this is how mill workers dressed a lot of the time.
Oh yes, we're dressed for today just like you are.
Who was born first?
Of Keith and me? I believe that was myself. I'm 3 minutes older than Keith, so I'm the older brother.
Right, he's the big brother.
Can you tell us a little bit about you and your mill job?
Well, at our mill job, we give tours. That means we show people around the three buildings on Slater Mill grounds. There is Slater Mill proper, Slater Mill, and as you may know, a lot of children worked in that mill when it was new. Slater Mill was built in the year 1793. So George Washington was president of these United States when Slater Mill was built. And there's the stone Wilkinson Mill, has 3-foot thick rubble stone walls, big stone mill. And Sylvanus Brown House, which is a charming little cottage. So those are the three buildings that we give tours of at Slater Mill site.
And we enjoy working with people of all ages. We've had anything from very, very young babies come to the mill to people in their 90s. So all sorts of people. We love working with them and showing them our mill.
See, a lot of people come to Slater Mill in Pawtucket to learn about the history, the things that happened there. And a lot of interesting things happened at Slater Mill.
Do you have anything else to say?
Yes, I brought a quote, as a matter of fact, and that's something somebody said a long time ago. May I share this with your audience? It is. Okay. All right. This is from the New England, oh, thanks. Come right over here. I'll read it to you. This is from the New England Association of Farmers, Mechanics, and Other Working Men, and it was written down in 1832. Children should not be allowed to labor in the factories from morning until night without any time for healthy recreation and mental culture, for it endangers their well-being and health. And in the state of Massachusetts, in 1836, children were required to attend school at least 3 months out of the year. And by children, they mean those under the age of 15. And in the year 1876, America, the United States of America, mandates that children under age 14 were not allowed to work. Then in the year 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act became federal law, and that meant children were not forced to work in these factories anymore, as they had been all those years ago. What do you think of that?
It's a good story.
It's a true one. You have another question.
Tell me about Samuel Slater and how the mill got started. And what did they do there?
Oh, Samuel Slater. Well, as a young man, Samuel Slater came from England to America. You see, Samuel Slater had apprenticed. That meant he trained in a mill in the township of Belper in the country of England for 7 years under a man named Jedediah Strutt. Now, sometime while Samuel Slater was working in that mill, he decided he wanted to own a cotton spinning mill for himself, where they took cotton, the plant, and turned it into yarn and thread. And Samuel Slater paid very careful attention to the workings of the machines that turned cotton into thread, because he knew he would need that knowledge here in America. And he had to sneak out of England to come here. He disguised himself. As you know something of the story of Samuel Slater. Young Samuel Slater disguised himself as a farmer to come from England to America, because England had laws forbidding a skilled machine builder, such as Samuel Slater, from coming over here to America. You see, understandably, the people in England wanted to keep their economy, their money, and their machines, their technology, there in the British Isles. So to board the ship bound for America, Samuel Slater dressed up as a farmer so that he would not be recognized as Samuel Slater, the mill worker. Got on a ship, came over to America. Took 2 months for him to arrive in New York. And then when Samuel Slater came to New York, he heard about a man named Moses Brown who was experimenting with cotton spinning machines. Well, Samuel Slater knew all about those machines, and he knew the Americans were trying to copy those machines. So Samuel Slater wrote a letter of introduction to Mr. Moses Brown, stating he had oversight of Sir Richard Arkwright's works. That's the man who invented the machine over in England. Was invited up to Pawtucket, Rhode Island, shown around, and under Samuel Slater's guidance, he and his partners rebuilt the clumsy machines the Americans were trying to use, got them working right, and then they opened Slater Mill, although it wasn't called Slater Mill in 1793. It was called Almy, Brown, and Slater Cotton Manufacturers. That was opened in 1793. And the rest, as they say, is history. And that's why we're talking about it today.
Do you have anything else to say?
Oh, I've got plenty to say. I'm glad you asked. But that was the beginning of the American Industrial Revolution. As I was telling you a minute ago, that's what started the factories, where they used big, noisy, very good working, but very dangerous machines.
How about now if we make a little visit to Slater Mill so we can look around the place, and then we'll come back for some more questions.
What a good idea. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay, Selena, let's roll.
Chapter 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth, and he taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness, that shall succeed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye which shall have no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Annabelle. What's your question? Was that Annabelle? That's a good question. Now I'm going to read out of the book of Mark. And they brought young children to him that he should touch them. And his disciples rebuked those that brought them. But when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased, and said unto them, Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. For of such is the kingdom of God. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein. Slater Mill is a beautiful and wonderful place to visit. I hope you come because there's tours. You could have a picnic because there's picnic tables. And you could also have a nice place to jog, and you could do exercising. The children worked very hard. I hope you come to Slater Mill because there's shows. You could go in one of the places and then you could have a show. Watch it. It has the ocean. It has over there where the water is. It even tells how they made Slater Mill.
We are back. It's good to be back. What did you think of Slater Mill?
It was a good place.
Very good place. Very interesting place.
Well, it was a good place because you weren't standing there for 12 hours working on a dangerous, noisy machine with the windows nailed shut. So to you, it was a good place. Well, it was always a good place because they did important work there.
So what questions do you have for us? Any more questions?
Yes. Let's go way back in time.
I like to go back in time.
Can I get a job working at the Slater Mill?
Can Selena get a job working at Slater Mill? Does she meet the criteria? Well, let's find out. What can you ask her if she wants to work at Slater Mill? Back all those years ago.
Well, first of all, how old are you?
6.
6? She's 6
You
years
can
old.
be hired at 6 years old.
Oh,
yes.
Yep, you're old enough to work at Slater Mill. 12 hours, standing up at a machine in the mill, and then you do the same thing the next day and the day after that. And the day after that, it was a time when children as young as 6, 7 years of age could come to the mill and work full 12-hour days. But we have to keep in mind that a lot of these young folks had already been working on a farm, at their family's farm. So they were just doing a different type of work in the mill. But now they were inside all those days, not working outside.
Do you have anything else to say about it?
Well, do you have another question for me? Except I will say it was very dangerous for children working in those mills, dangerous for anybody working in those mills, because they're working around these big machines, and if a child gets tired after standing for 10, 11, 12 hours, they better watch out where their fingers and hands are, because if they get their hands in the wrong place on a machine, what's going to happen? Get caught in the machine. And of course
Dangerous.
it did a very dangerous place, yes. But you get paid for working there. Now, talking about getting paid for working in the mill, they weren't slaves, they weren't forced to work. Well, parents brought them into the mill so that they could have more money for their families. But back all those years ago, a little boy working in Slater Mill would be paid 50 cents a week. That's a week, he'd get 50 cents. But a little girl doing the same work would get paid 35 cents per week. They paid the boys 15 cents more per week. But all the money would go to father anyway, and his money would be spent in the company store. The only person who seemed to keep the money for any time was the mill owner himself. Which brings us back to Mr. Samuel Slater.
Tell us about the local schools and how they visited the old Slater Mill for tours.
Well, when school started, you see, Mr. Slater, if you worked at the mill, you would work all week long, then on Sundays, you'd come in and learn from Mr. Slater. When he started the mill, he actually used to teach the little mill children. He'd teach them reading, writing, math, but he also taught them about God and the Bible on Sundays.
That was their Sunday school. But in our time, schools from different regions, different towns and cities come to visit Slater Mill and learn about what it was like to work there and why the mill was started. And during Samuel Slater's time, he and his partners specialized in manufacturing high-quality cotton yarn and thread. That's what they made there, cotton yarn and cotton thread.
And children especially love to come to the mill. We have many, many schools that come and see Slater Mill. They take the whole tour, and they actually get to participate in some of the work. And you know what? When it's time to go home, they don't want to leave. We say, you want to miss your bus? Yes, I'd rather stay here.
Of course, they weren't working in a hot, sweaty mill, standing up for 6 hours or 12 hours at a dangerous, noisy machine. After 6 hours, they'd get a break, get a half-an-hour break. Then it's back to work. By the way, that half-hour break was once a day, and that was for lunch and bathroom needs.
Would you like to invite all the children watching to come out and visit the old Slater Mill?
Indeed I would. I would like to take this opportunity to invite all the children who are listening in to Selena's show to come and visit Slater Mill on a tour. And right now, of course, as we're talking, it's the summertime, so we are open 7 days a week. Then in the fall and the autumn, we're not open as much, but you just have to check our website, slatermill.org. You can find out when our institution is open. And come by, take a tour with Mom or Dad. I assume Mom and Dad or Mom or Dad have to come with you because you wouldn't be able to get there otherwise. But stop by and see Slater Mill, see what we're talking about. You might even see Selena there, dressed just like you are. We have another clip to show?
If we have one, sure.
Do you have another clip to show, another film, another movie to show? I think you might. If we do, let's go to that now.
both for being on my show. It's been a great honor.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been an honor for us, too. We'd like to come back. Maybe we could do Slater Mill Part 2.
Thank you for asking us very much. We appreciate it.
And you're a very good hostess. You asked just the right questions.
And you look just like a girl who would work in the mill back when Mr. Slater was there.
And I like Selena's questions because so far she's asked questions we can answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show.
Very much.
Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.